Hi everybody, thanks so much for clicking on this video. I'm very excited to be talking about today's topic, how to stop being your own worst enemy or how to stop getting in your own way. So it's very similar and all the ideas are similar. I guess this is just in my head how I classify it. And to get started, if I had to give a snapshot of what this book is about, is that we've all been through tough times, times when we have failed at something, we felt isolated, we felt heartbroken, inserts a number of other words here. Some of us, however, subconsciously or consciously, choose to carry that around and not for their own good. So sometimes we let that heartbreak make us hard, we let that failure stop us from trying again, etc., etc. And so in this way, you become an obstacle in your own path because instead of learning from difficulty, and I'm not saying it's easy, nevertheless, instead of learning from difficulty, you kind of let it take you a step back. And so this book is about pinpointing tendencies when we do that, when we let challenges in our lives stop us or become obstacles and we aren't being our best selves. The author is Andrea Owen. She is a life coach and she's a mentor, so she really does day in and day out spend time talking about these types of habits, these limiting habits, and she gets people out of them. So I think she's an excellent person to learn from. And as always, I study psychology. I'm a life coach myself, so I'm going to add my own interpretations and maybe some of my own opinions along the way, along with what she says. So hopefully by the end of the video, it'll kind of be like you read the book, you'll have a great understanding of it and how you could apply it into your own life. Maybe some of you can relate to this. To achieve anything in life, you need to be the best, push hard, identify your mistakes, constantly learn, constantly be better than you were yesterday. Well, an aspect of this is true, especially in career or academics, to really highlight all your mistakes and constantly focus on them and constantly be better every moment of every day. It does help you to achieve amazing things. If you have this type of mindset all of the time in every aspect of your life, it's going to become very tiring. And I think at some point, you may even lose focus as to why, like, what is the point of having this mindset? So, whilst it is really helpful to learn from your mistakes and to be a better version of yourself, the author says that nobody beat themselves up into success, happiness, good health, and a fulfilled life. And I really like this because I think even if you have this mindset and you do achieve great success, which I think you do, I think it's hard for us to know which person who has achieved great success has done it with grace toward themselves or with this constant mindset. The only person who will really know is that person. So you're the only one who's going to know whether or not you constantly have this type of mindset. So outside and to others, it's okay. It's likely that the outcome will look the same. How it feels to you is going to be totally different. So whilst we all aim for success and goal achievement in many areas of our lives, make sure that at the end of the day, it feels fulfilling to you and that you are your own biggest supporter, not your own biggest critic. And I think that is two sides of the coin of success sometimes. And so, kind of tagging on from what I've just said, what the author tells us is that there will always be things you don't know. Even if you have the mindset of be better, always improve, focus on every mistake, even if you have that mindset 24/7, there'll always be something that you don't know. No matter how many degrees, certifications, hours you put into any kind of subject, there's always more that you don't know. And for those of you listening, as I'm saying this, you might relate that actually once you learn more about a certain subject, you realize all there is more to know. So you'll never fully know everything about something, and embrace that. Embrace the things you don't know, embrace the learning, and know that it is lifelong. So get used to it. Another thing that the author suggests you get used to is failure, mistakes. You'll always make mistakes, and it's likely that you will often fail at things. Maybe not often, but now and again. And so use those as important opportunities to learn and be better, rather than seeing them as signs that you're doing the wrong thing or you're on the wrong path. Making mistakes is a vital part of a process, and it's so important to look at the process, not just the end goal. Something that fits very well with some of the things we've been talking about is perfectionism. If you have that mindset that I spoke about previously, where you focus on every little mistake and you always are seeking bigger and better things, it's likely you fall into perfectionist tendencies where mistakes feel wildly uncomfortable, and not being the best or number one or really standing out in something feels like, oh, what's the point of doing it? And the author asks this really important question that I want to pose to you. Although perfectionist tendencies do get your results a lot of the time, they do lead to amazing output. They do kind of show, wow, look how many hours I put into this. What could perfectionist tendencies be costing you? Could they be costing you time with family and friends? Are you really able to balance your perfectionist tendencies with spending time with loved ones? If you finish something and you didn't have all the time to double check it in every single way you wanted to, do you still feel happy that it's done, or does it just stay in your mind? Are you able to be present in the moment without thinking of the next five things you need to do? These are some costs of perfectionism that can really become burdensome and very heavy over time. So, if you do notice some perfectionist tendencies coming to you, I know that they can become addictive. There's this phrase that you can replace with whatever perfectionist thought you may have. So the phrase is, my worth as a person is not determined by my work or professional outcome. I have tried my best, and that is good enough. I choose to let feelings of inadequacy go. And I find that this was very relatable to me when I was studying at school. I always, from young, wanted to be the best. And when I graduated from university, I was the top of my faculty. So that's like thousands and thousands of people that are in my faculty. So I know all too well the outcomes you get from perfectionist tendencies, but I also deeply understand the costs of being a perfectionist. And so this sentence of saying my worth as a person is not determined by my work or professional outcome, that made me stop in my tracks, because especially if you have been engaging in perfectionist tendencies for a very long time, you feel that that is what people expect of you. And so, at least for me, I was so afraid if I wasn't the best, or at least trying to be the best at everything that I did, that my value as a person would go down. And so I think that's really something to think about. You are extremely valuable, no matter the outcome professionally or with your school or with anything you take on. Just because you do it is really good enough, and you are good enough. If you relate to being a perfectionist, this will apply to you. And if you don't relate to being a perfectionist, but you do sometimes or often get this nagging feeling of being worried about what others think of you, here's a really great tactic that the author offers us. And it has to do with us worrying about the opinions of others, especially with social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the things. We are so connected, and with that, we might feel like everything we do has a track record. Therefore, everything we do can be commented on by others, or others may discuss the things that we do. And for some of us, we might spend a lot of time thinking about this. The author says to get a piece of paper and draw a box that is 2.5, I use centimeters, 2.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters, and draw this square on your piece of paper. If you use inches, I'm sure 2 inches by 2 inches will be perfectly fine too. Once you look at the square, you'll see firstly, it's not that big. What you're going to do is put the names of people whose opinions you truly care about in that box. So it might be some family members, it might be some very close friends, and maybe one or two colleagues. These are the people who are allowed to speak into your life. You really value their opinions, and it really matters to you what they think, truly and deeply. Once you've got this and things happen and you feel that nagging feeling that you're worrying about what others think, remember your box and whose names are actually in there. Don't give everybody else permission to speak into your life and to sway your opinions. Only allow a select few to actually hold weight when it comes to offering advice into your life. And I feel like this is a great way just to make you kind of take that weight off again and know who really matters. You're always, unfortunately, going to disappoint somebody. You may even sometimes disappoint one of the names in that box. Just make sure that you don't disappoint somebody in the box for somebody outside of the box, or don't disappoint yourself for somebody out of the box. Society is moving away from this way of thinking, but an interesting aspect of getting out of your own way or not being your own worst enemy is how we view being strong. As I said, we're moving away from this slowly. It is slightly apparent still, though, that being strong means not showing or feeling negative emotions. And the author really wants to put it out there that just because you don't show the negative emotion doesn't mean it's not there. In fact, these emotions become really suppressed. They can, in some cases, lead to even worse mental problems or even physical problems. And an interesting part of this that the author mentions is that if you suppress these negative emotions so much, you may also get into a habit of not being able to feel positive emotions to the full extent. So, rewire this or reframe the idea of being strong in your own mind. Being strong means feeling negative emotions and sometimes showing them, provided you feel you're in a safe space and it's all appropriate. And in doing that, you also set an example to those who might be watching that it's okay to feel negative things and to get through it, and sometimes to ask for help. Now that's being strong, asking for help. And there's a lot of bravery in showing how you truly feel instead of just shoving it down and it coming out in some other unexpected way, often impacting a person who doesn't really deserve to be impacted in that way. Next, the author speaks about the dangers of comparison, especially with social media. I want to add, even when you're just talking to someone. So, the author says that in social media, you might see loads of different pictures of people living vastly different lives, running marathons, going on holidays, having a full, happy family. Remember that these snapshots of people's lives that they choose to show are the absolute highlights of their lives, and don't fall into the trap of comparing their highlights to your lowlights or your difficult times. When it comes to running a marathon, they may not post that time they threw up because training was so hard. They might not post if they're posting the cool travel pics. I know that I traveled to a couple of countries in Europe. I never posted pictures of feeling really anxious and homesick or being confused about living in a country where the language was different from my first language. And those families who post the full happy picture of everyone smiling, they may not post when the kids are fighting. So the point is that people live full lives. They tend to show the happy moments. They live full lives, and that's not to say that their lives are worse or better than yours. Just don't compare your lower moments to their higher moments. And also, in saying that, the only way to feel truly content in your life is to know that you're doing what feels authentic to you. So, traveling might be amazing for some people and they may truly love it, ups and downs included, but that not might be your thing. So, I think it's always important to kind of go ahead and search for the things that make you happy and follow those, and don't worry so much about what other people are doing. I think from my perspective of this is also when you're talking to people. So I think we're getting better at not comparing ourselves on social media, but when you talk to people, especially people who may be close to you that you feel safe with, they also will tell you how they're living their lives. They're also likely going to tell you about the highlights and the happy times. So also don't compare yourself to them. View life as something that's abundant, that you can have your own joys and experiences that may be different but equally as full and happy as theirs. I really like the topic of how to get out of your own way and how to stop being your own worst enemy. I find that in coaching, often people's biggest obstacles are themselves or the way that they think about something. So maybe you want to think about this in your own life. Just ask yourself this question: how am I getting in my own way in some area? So maybe you want to think about something that you want, some sort of goal, or something that is exciting to you, something you've been wanting to get around to. Just think of that for a moment and then ask yourself, how am I getting in my own way of achieving this? Because as much as we often say we don't have the time, we may not have the money, we may not have the resources, there's often always a way if we just think about it differently. So see if you can think about that thing differently so that you are the thing that's supporting you and your thinking supporting you rather than holding you back. And if you need any extra guidance in regards to this, I'll leave my details down below. Thanks so much for listening. I really enjoyed this book. I think it's simple. I think it's fairly straightforward and it's pretty funny, I think, too. And there's lots of opportunities to journal and put some thoughts to paper. So if you enjoyed this and this has inspired you to look the book up, I would definitely recommend it. I really enjoyed it. And leave me any comments or questions down below. I really enjoy connecting with you.